Welcome to our introduction video on VitalSigns SIEM Agent for ZOS, or VSA. This is part 5 of a 5-part series from Software Diversified Services titled Aspects on How VSA Can Help. We will provide an overview focused on each area of VSA's role in system information and event management alert processing for ZOS within your enterprise system. STS is a global leader in mainframe software and has been named to the Cybersecurity 500 list of the world's hottest and most innovative cybersecurity companies for second quarter of 2017. STS is an IBM partner in development and an advanced member of IBM Partner World. Colin from STS will be presenting the many aspects on how VSA can help to introduce VitalSigns SIEM Agent for ZOS. He will cover SMF options and recommendations, viewing events with QRadar, and customization for VitalSigns SIEM Agent for ZOS. In Part 5, Colin will show you some of the VSA messages being sent, VSA event list filtering including USS LEEF and CEF format, and VSA editing options that include an ISPF interface for VSA. We begin with Part 5, VitalSigns SIEM Agent customization, in addition to a look at our ISPF interface for VSA.
Thanks everyone and welcome to our webinar today. I'll go into some of the configuration items on VSA, show you some of the stats and also how you can configure events on VSA. Let's switch out of this and I'm now going to go back to TSO, another TSO session, and show you a bit about VSA. So I'm logged on to 031. Remember, you saw me set that profile, and this is the starter task running on this LPAR. I'm going to go down to the bottom just to point out some information for you. I've turned on an operand more for diagnostic purposes. Probably not something you'll turn on in production environment, but just gives you an idea of the events that's being sent from the mainframe agent to QRadar. Here you can see the SMF events, 42s, 30s. That was a right to operator message, and also type 30s. So this would be something you would turn on when you're testing. Perhaps you want to make sure that, hey, events are really being sent. I know when I initially started testing, I got caught out. I had a syslog monitor installed on my laptop, and I could not figure out why I was not seeing the messages on my laptop, but it turned out that the Windows firewall was blocking it on, and I just disabled that or created a filter for it, which resolved my issue. So that's the starter task running on the mainframe. Let's point out some of the information. We do have an alert MVS file which you can write out to a flat file. So basically a little more detailed information about the event, and yeah, you can just to show you, give you a feel, giving you some information about the events that's being written out, and you can see the user ID. Also the alert number looks like an ICH48i message. This is something you can turn on. By default we don't turn it on. I've just turned it on for illustration purposes. Then let's get into the configuration file. Just point out a few stuff for you. Yeah, you can see I'm using RACF, and here's the events that I've elected to turn on. I don't have all of them turned on. My SMF parameter or my SMF member in Palm Live doesn't have all of them enabled. There's some of the DB2 audit classes. So this is typically where you'd come in and you do some of that filtering. Let me illustrate to you maybe a good one to show you is the USS. So here's USS events. We've turned on 92s. You saw that previously, and now I can take out some of these subtypes, and you know, like I said to you, this might be one where you want to, if you are considering monitoring the SMF 92s, make sure that you are collecting the ones that is of importance to you. One other thing to point out to you, let's just go here to the UDP ports. That's the IP address of QRadar and also the port number, and that says we're sending out the events in LEEF format. Then I'm also sending to another box. I believe this is, yeah, this could be ArcSight. From a resilience point of view, you could send information to multiple destinations. So, if that's something that is of interest to you, you can turn that on. That's that diagnostic operand I told you about, the right to con operator message. So that'll write it out. If I change that to no, it'll then turn that off. Let's go and show you some diagnostic information, and the QM log provides some great insight for you. So let's browse this, and again, this is our event environment since we've been monitoring, and here it gives you a feel or a breakdown of the event types. SMF17s, we got a bunch of those. SMF30s, there's the 92s, which I told you about, which can be a lot of information, so be aware of that. Now, a little breakdown. This is something you could use just to get a feel for the type of events that is being sent from the mainframe to your enterprise sim. Then a breakdown of the security events. So this would be the type 80s. As you can see, we got a bunch of the job inner TSO logons. So that script is generating a bunch of those. There's an auth check, define resources, a breakdown of some of the commands that was done from an SMF 80 type point of view. And this is all historical information that is generated for you when the product comes down. Uh, Let me see if there's anything else I want to point out here. I'm not going to go into some of the other logs. Some of the logs do provide real-time information about how much CPU the product uses. Very, very low on CPU resources. We do have benchmark figures, and we also uh, post some of that information in these log files, but time doesn't allow me to go into those. So I'm going to go to another TSO session, and just to show you how you can go about customizing it. So I showed you the configuration file where you would turn on these SMF events. In addition to that, there's this ISPF interface that will allow you to customize the product. So let me give you a quick example. I could say I want to add a filter, and I want to monitor anything that begins with sys1.034.palm. For example, I could use that. I can hit enter, hit the F4 button, and that'll add that record for me. So when I go into it, I'll be able to see immediately there's the filter that I've set up. And here's an example of some of the other filters. This one probably needs to come out because we're not an ACF2 shop, so I can delete that one. In fact, I'll do that in a second. Also monitoring the ICH 408I message, some of the other right to operator messages I've specified. Also monitoring a user ID BCVR1, so any activity for BCVR1 is being monitored. Also the file, so that is being monitored. Remember, you saw that in the demo. And also some of the other policy rules. The number of exceptions, that is, I'll briefly go into that. I don't want to spend too much time on it because we want to field some of those questions. But suffice to say that when you're setting it up, we have some good starting points, and within the product, the number of exceptions in this particular case is 1, and within a time limit or period of 60 seconds. So there it is. And the time units, namely, this is you can say what, minutes, second, hours, or days. In our testing, these are good sample parameters to have. And the escalation increment basically says 10 is added to the counter, and the severity red occurs when this escalation threshold of 10 has been reached or surpassed by the counter. This is a good way of tracking. Some of those we can actually monitor for internals, patterns of abuse, maybe perhaps a excuse me, a denial of service. But these are good parameters, good starting parameters. You can certainly customize them. We say these are good starting parameters to use. Then if I want to do, I can just type the word delete there, and I can go down there and I can delete this particular one. That'll delete that ACF message. I'm no longer going to monitor that. Also gives you an idea of some of the messages that I've been monitoring here on this particular system. So that's that ISPF interface. That's one way you can add rules and filters to the product. You can also do it through batch. So perhaps in your site you have just too many, go through this ISPF interface. That is what you then can use. You can use that batch program to get to load some of these events on the product.
Thank you for watching our series on aspects on how VSA can help for VitalSigns SIM agent for ZOS. If you would like to receive more information on VSA or any other STS product, you can reach Software Diversified Services at 1-800-443-6183, or you can send us an email at info@stsusa.com.